Death Valley. What a grim name. Now, does it truly define the land? Or does it reflect more about the people who gave it that name? Maybe it's a place where life couldn't exist in the ways that we know it. But is this really a place of death? The year is 1849. It's been 1 year since a brutal and forgotten war that stole massive expanses of territory from the former Mexican Empire in the name of expansionist, ideologically driven, and racially supremacist policies otherwise known as Manifest Destiny. Emboldened by their new license to invade and conquer, pioneers headed west in search of gold and glory. One group of pioneers coming down the old Spanish Trail found themselves trapped in this vast and unforgiving valley and faced the insurmountable Panamint Mountain Range to the west. Undecided on how to proceed, some in the party went south and others went north in an attempt to find a way around these mountains. Those who went north got their wagons stuck here, in the density of this sand. Seeing no other option, they decided to burn their wagons, turn their oxen into jerky, and cross the sand dunes on foot. Those pioneers that went south to find a way through the mountains traveled as far across these salt flats as they could until they reached a canyon that they thought they could cross. The terrain forced them to return down to the valley floor and send 2 men off on foot to find help at a ranch over 300 miles away. These people are credited with saying goodbye Death Valley as they left, cursing this place with the name that we still use today. As the pioneers struggled to survive in this unforgiving landscape, they were unaware that for 1,000 years, the land had been home to the Timbisha Shoshone, and that long before English was ever spoken here, they called this land Timbisha. Even so, Death Valley National Monument opened in 1933. While the land was protected, the people who had lived here for centuries were not. In the rush to transform this space into a spectacle for the world, the Timbisha Shoshone were erased from the narrative. The year that this place became a national monument, those living near what would become Furnace Creek Visitor Center became squatters in their ancestral homes. That is until the Park Service built Indian Village in 1938. 11 adobe structures built with no plumbing and no electricity, intentionally left to decay and quite literally be washed away by park rangers, out of sight and out of mind for the visitor center. The Timbisha Shoshone were not federally recognized as a tribe until 1982, and they were not granted a formal reservation within the park until the year 2000. As the natives faced displacement, the land itself became transformed by the American drive for expansion. In the late 1800s, as silver mining towns began to pop up throughout Timbisha, some Italian, some Irish, but mostly Chinese workers were recruited to endure grueling conditions in the mines. The American expansion of this era necessitated cheap immigrant labor, and worker protections were non-existent. Many Chinese men worked here at the Harmony Borax Works during the 5-year borax mining boom of the 1880s. When the mining rush ended, the new inhabitants of this land also faced displacement, leaving the land silent once again. Some did try to start a new life here in this barren wilderness. Afu, a Chinese man who had worked in the borax mines, retired to develop a farm and build an oasis of life south of the park, at a place early silver miners would come to call China Ranch. To this day, it remains a rare, thriving piece of the land in this harsh desert. But in the year 1900, Over a decade after the passing of the infamous Chinese Exclusion Act and decades of anti-Chinese discrimination in California, Ah Fu was violently run off of his own property by a white man known today only as Morrison. At China Ranch today, a sign claims that Ah Fu mysteriously disappeared. All that remains now is a date farm, selling date smoothies. What gives one person the right to erase another's life, their land, or their history? Decades later, during World War II, the US military forcibly relocated over 120,000 Japanese Americans living along the Pacific coast and incarcerated them in remote inland camps. In December of 1942, after a revolt at a nearby camp named Manzanar, where 2 Japanese American captives were shot, over 60 people were assigned to live at an abandoned civilian conservation crew camp here at Cow Creek in Death Valley. 83 years ago, Japanese families were forced to live here, only 4 miles up from where the visitor center is today. Imagine being asked to show patriotism and declare loyalty to a country that has shown you nothing but fear and suspicion. A country willing to incarcerate an entire people overnight. But times have changed and things are different now, right? The wagons of 1849 are very different from the wagons of 2025. And the people of 2025 are very different from those of 1849, right? Are we different now? Nature hasn't changed. The desert here still challenges us, still resists our will, still reminds us that no matter how far we've come, we can't tame it. Despite the human hardship and tragedy that has marked this place, the land remains as captivating and resilient as ever. It shows clearly that it's been sculpted by forces far more powerful and more enduring than human hands or wagons or guns. The basin I'm standing in here is 200 feet below sea level, meaning this massive salt deposit was once part of an ancient sea. The shapes, colors, and textures of the rugged mountain beauty that surrounds me here were shaped over millions of years. It was already like this long before human ambition, long before wagons and railroads and military camps. Produced by an eternity of volcanic activity and erosion and wind and moisture and solitude. This place will continue to change no matter what we say or do here. It will continue to change even as we attempt to bury the stories and monuments of the past in the sand. It will continue to change as we forget, as it always has. Hopefully humanity will continue to change along with it. These mountains have eyes. If they had mouths too, what would they say?